Pickles.
Mr. Pickles is here.
Dude, run! It's the cops! It's the Popo! Run!
Got pickle juice?
Pickle juice.
He's got my pickle juice. That's right. That's my brand. That's homemade.
Wow.
Woohoo! You're gonna love the taste of my juice in your mouth, Steve Smith.
Oh, wow.
Did I make it come out his nose? I'm trying. I
Almost got it.
Almost got him. Almost got him. So, let's make sure we are live over on JimandStuShow.com. We are live over on JimandStuShow.com. That's good. So, we have a special guest today. We have Officer Friendly with us. Senior Deputy John Holt. Senior Deputy. Did that come with a pay raise or just more responsibility?
Both. It came with both. In order to get one, you got to get the other. So.
All right. So Stu and I decided to have my son-in-law, John Holt, on our show. This is the second family member we've ever had on a Jim and Stu event. The only other person we've had family member was your dad way back in the day. Remember when we interviewed him?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So
we talked old school advertising.
That's right. So it's actually easier to get on our show if you're a complete stranger than if you're a relative, which is cool. So I'm going to share something with everybody. It'll be about 3 minutes long, and then we want to talk to John about what's up. So hang on one sec. I'm going to share my audio. And here we go.
A daring rescue caught on body camera video. So take a look at this. A Gloucester County Sheriff's deputy helping save the life of a woman pinned underneath her car.
Yeah, the sheriff's office is hailing that deputy a hero after he was able to lift the SUV, freeing the woman. News 3 reporter Antoinette Delbell talked to the hero deputy about his seemingly superhuman save.
Is he under it?
Gloucester County Deputy John Holt's body camera capturing the harrowing rescue. Holt getting out of his patrol car, quickly running to the scene of an overturned SUV off Route 17. The driver's daughter, frantic.
Yeah, well, so much for the body camera.
Her mother trapped underneath, her head pinned by the sunroof. The son can be heard crying. Mommy! But Holt remaining calm, coaxing the boy out of the car.
Come here, buddy.
Then, with Herculean strength, Holt lifting the more than 4,000-pound SUV. And for just a few seconds, the vehicle is off the ground.
Is your head clear?
The woman is able to get free.
You can still see pieces of the vehicle.
Holt bringing us back to the site where the crash happened nearly 2 weeks ago on Friday, May 7th.
It's Mother's Day weekend. You can't let a child see their mom pass away on Mother's Day weekend or get seriously injured.
The deputy traveling in the opposite direction, seeing the exact moment the SUV flipped, landing upside down. Arriving on scene moments later, Holt, an Army veteran, says his military training kicked in.
I tried to lift the vehicle one time and, I said, I can't do it. That's something that is unacceptable. So I put my shoulder into the door frame, braced up, and I said, all I have to do is just stand up. That's why I just kept telling myself. I don't know if it was adrenaline, sheer will.
Holt says the woman had some bleeding and minor injuries. His quick actions saving her from an almost certain tragedy.
It's what we do. It's what we train for. And I'm no hero. I'm just an average cop that gets put in.
So that was pretty amazing. And so we wanted to have you on here and just talk with you about, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about.
Extraordinary situations.
Just, I don't know, Stu. I mean, I get emotional.
I'm just proud to know him, man.
Yeah.
I've been cutting onions over here, man. So
yeah. So what's it? We're super proud of you, man. And I remember when you I talked to you the next day and you were like, dude, I lifted a car off of a woman last night. I'm like, what? He said, you got to see this body camera stuff. And I'm like, well, I mean, it was just, it didn't sink in until it sank in.
Yeah.
And I, you know, they didn't show the whole stuff, but I mean, I remember hearing you say, dude, I just lifted the car off her. It's like, what? I love Stu's question though from you or of you yesterday when we were doing the pre-interview stuff. He was like, so what you been doing to work out?
So, you know, COVID's really been shutting down the gyms. So a lot less cardio. I hate running. I do have a 40-pound sandbag that hangs out in the garage with me from time to time. And that thing is probably by far the best thing because you got 9 acres. You can throw that on your shoulder and just start walking.
Yeah.
There you
Start
go.
walking, you get squats, you know, whole 9 yards. So
That'll build some durability for sure.
oh yeah.
So how did you feel after that lift? When did that lift sink in to like what you just did?
So, you know, you get the like that adrenaline rush. So it hits you and you're like, oh man. It wasn't until my sergeant arrived on scene about a minute and a half later and she's like, are you good? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. And like she grabs my arm and she goes, no, really, are you good? And I'm all like, yeah. Oh yeah, my back's a little tight. But you know, it was that kind of stuff. It was like, then it's like she looked at me in so many less colorful words. She goes, you know, you just picked up a car off a lady's head. There's some cuss words she threw in there because she had to like get that to sink in with me. But she's like, you picked up a car. I was like, oh, I guess I did. So
That's pretty nuts. So tell us a little bit about, I would like you to just kind of share your story about how you came to be at that moment of being there, lifting up I don't want to hear, you know, I was going westbound on 17. How did you end up as a sheriff's deputy? Because your journey to that moment is pretty incredible.
yeah. So correction, I was going northbound on
I don't even know which
17
way.
is a north-south road, sir.
Stop.
So
Okay.
So after I got, you know, wounded overseas, I spent 2 years inpatient at Riverside Walter Reed, or not Riverside Walter Reed, geez. Walter Reed Army Hospital up in DC, and then did 2 years outpatient. While at Walter Reed, I had to learn how to, best way to put it is I have to learn how to walk again. So I had a walker, you know, for a while there, for a couple of weeks, I was strictly in a wheelchair. And then had to get a walker, had to learn how to walk again. There's all sorts of crazy stories with that, with, you know, me being a prankster and, you know, yelling at my wife like "Ya mule" as we go up a hill. And if you don't know that, there's like a standing order at most medical facilities that if they, you know, military ones, that if they see like a wounded veteran, you know, going up a hill in a wheelchair, they're supposed to help you do that, help you get up the hill. So, side story. So, you know, me being me, I'd wait at the top of the hill and have the brakes locked, and then I'd see like a full bird colonel coming my way, and I'd unlock the brakes and go screaming backwards, and this wheelchair going, help me. So I mean, that's the kind of thing I had started developing was, you know, enjoy life for what it is. After that, went and started working corporate America, and it was okay. But as you know, Jim can attest to, something was missing with me. I needed some kind of purpose in my life. So started, you know, study to become a firefighter.
That's your wife's ringtone, isn't it?
No,
Or no, she's the dark side.
That honestly, I won't.
Okay.
Life is Dark Side. That is CNN.
Oh, okay.
So I've got to do an interview here with them after.
Okay. All right. Well, they can wait. I mean, this is more important.
Yeah, we're live with Jim and Stu. So
That's right.
something was missing with me. So I actually started studying to become a firefighter. was taking, paramedics classes at the local community college, was, had an application out with Hampton Fire at the time. I was going to go through their process. James City was getting ready to open up their process for firefighting. And next thing I know, Gloucester County has a opening for law enforcement. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try, see what happens. And I got picked up. So I did 2 years hard time in the jail as a corrections deputy, and then came out, and here I am.
Now, you also did some SWAT team work too, right?
Yeah, I was on the SWAT team, took a little hiatus from that. Today's the 26th. So probably 30 days from now, I'll be back on the SWAT team. Done a couple breaches, things of that, mechanical breaches, which is fun. Yeah. You get paid to break doors.
Yeah.
So, but
other people's doors.
Other people's doors, not your doors.
That's right.
But I enjoyed that a lot while being on the SWAT team, because it's, that brotherhood that in law enforcement, it's a brotherhood, but that one, it's like a different set. And, you at that point, you're teaching people, tactics, and you're very close knit family at that one.
Nice.
So what's next for you? Are you gonna start like doing some weightlifting and bodybuilding and try and do Mr. Universe? Or are you gonna matriculate in the sheriff's department? Are you gonna run for governor? How are we gonna capitalize on this fame?
So what I'm going to do is the seat right next to me is open.
Ooh.
Because I've sent my trainee to go study for his boards. I've had 3 trainees since COVID, and each one has been, developed, trained, and he's the last one I'll be training before I go to investigations.
Oh,
have you been using scissor hand on him when you're really doing this?
So I've learned through the military, there's a time and place for everything. So while getting into somebody is extremely gratifying for the moment, having the disappointed dad look, I've found works a lot better with some of these guys. So it's all like, when you look at me, you just go, where you messed up. And they're like, oh man, it's like the look, they look right at you and they go, oh.
That's what Stu does that. He's got that down too.
That's a good one. And I don't yell or curse.
Yeah.
Almost ever. And when I do, it has so much more meaning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My trainees have only heard me. Each one has probably heard me yell at somebody one time, but each time they just look and they go, what I had my second trainee look at somebody and go, I don't know what you did. He never does that. But and I looked and I was like, there's a time and place for everything. I was like, if you start yelling at somebody, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing, sales or anything like that. If you start off all the way up there at your top moment, where are you going to go from there?
Yeah. Nobody takes you seriously after that.
Exactly. You're hitting the ceiling already. But if you start low and you start working your way up, then it's okay. Well, now we get it. Oh, we started here and now we're here. This isn't good.
Wow.
Well, speaking of a time and place for everything, there is a time and place, obviously, for deadlifting a car off of people. So, you have done some remarkable things in your small county department.
Yeah.
And I'm going to brag on you because you won't. I remember when you had saved somebody by holding them up for a very long period of time, someone who was trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And then, which requires a great level of fitness and ability. And then Jim was telling me the other day that you had done this before. What was the other story, Jim? Well,
there's 2 of them. One, he responded to a VDOT worker had gorked out on the side of the highway and was dead, and John resuscitated and brought him back to life with CPR and a defibrillator and stuff. And then the guy was a Marine, so he likes to say the Army had to come in and save the Marines, which is kind of like, digging,
I love it.
digging into the poor guy. And then a couple months ago, John got the top cop award for the region and the top cop award for his department and the region's big. I mean, it's like all of southeastern Virginia. It's not just like region of, Hampton or Gloucester Matthews, which is like less than the population of your subdivision, Stu. But I mean, it's like all of southeastern Virginia, and he got that for rushing into a burning building, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. Went into a burning building and pulled the 2 handicapped ladies out of the building and saved their lives. So,
incredible.
So, John is definitely the one you want around when you start to get in really big trouble.
Unless you're like my trainees, then they're like, man, this is going to involve some paperwork, isn't it?
I tell you, I'm glad the word's getting out too on everything that you have done, especially recently, and with the situation it is, with cops in the news and everything like that. You're bringing a very righteous face to what you guys do, and people need to see it. I know you're probably tired of it right now, and you're blowing off CNN and other news networks, but I think people need to see the good side of it.
In the military, I was big on pushing my guys forward. It's like, hey, I didn't do the good job. They did the good job, and diverting attention to them because, as a leader, you can't do everything. It is impossible. It is always your guys that go out there and, achieve those objectives. I mean, your NCOs are the backbone of the military because they're the ones that when the officer comes down, points to him, goes, I need this done. We are doing this, this, and this. It's the NCO's job to go, okay, well, the officer's planning it. This is the big picture. Now I have to execute those orders and make it happen and drive on. And it's that kind of communication that works both ways and allows things to get achieved. So that way you can move on. So, the sheriff says, hey, we got to protect and serve the community. Well, that's what I'm out there trying to do.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. We're really proud of you. So two things I want to hit before I know you got to go into court here in a couple minutes. But what has it been like with all of the attention? I know that it gets tiresome. I mean, I like when you go to a conference and stuff and everybody wants to talk to you, everybody wants to get their picture taken with you, everybody wants to stop you as you're walking down, and all this stuff, and you're really grateful for it and you appreciate it. But it's also, I know it can become tedious because you're still working full time and doing 12-hour shifts and all this other stuff, and you're doing interviews and everything on top of that. What has it been like, though, talking to all these different organizations and people and people you've literally seen on the news and now they want to talk to you? What's that been like?
It's been really interesting. A lot of people I found out cannot pronounce Gloucester for some reason. So it's all I've had like Gloucester, Gloucester, Gloucester. I've had one person. It's interesting. Yesterday I did like a 2-hour long interview with Black Rifle Coffee.
Fun.
They wanted to know the whole story, everything from military to how I got here.
Nice.
So,
are they going to give you free coffee? Did you tell them you're a customer? Are they going to comp you?
I don't care. Every month I'm on automatic order, and that bad boy shows up at my doorstep, and I grind coffee. And right now I'm out of coffee. They sent me a notification that it shipped a couple days ago, and I'm like, man, I'm jonesing for a cup of coffee already. So, but it's those kind of things.
That's
so
awesome.
Is it different than you thought it would be? Like when you're talking to people?
It is. I mean, this is going to sound really bad, but it's bad in a good way. So when my department told me, hey, we released the video, it's being picked up, Inside Edition wants to talk to you, these places want to talk to you. And then I started getting emails from my commands like, hey, contact this person. Hey, contact this person. Well, as I'm going through these emails last week during all this, I was in training to be a general instructor. So I'll be training a bunch of recruits here before too long. And then all of a sudden be like, hey, this person contacted from this school. This old lady called in and said you wanted to, tell you thank you. So instead of going for like, Inside Edition as like, oh, that's got to be my first one. On my breaks, I contacted, the individual people, telling them, thank you for, calling in, returning those calls to individual citizens and to those schools that want to do an interview, because, that's why I went into law enforcement, which was to help and serve the community. The big, organizations, they'll get their news story, trust me.
Yeah.
But it's that when you reach out to the smaller people, that's, those are the ones that, pay your bills, vote you in. I work for a sheriff, those are electoral points for them. And more importantly, those are the next law enforcement officers that'll be sitting right here or sitting right here. If I can, spark interest into somebody that's sitting there at their school, looking at their TV with their, news anchors going, you know what, maybe I want to be a cop. Maybe I want to be a firefighter. Maybe I want to join the military. Maybe I want to be a nurse or a doctor, then in that case, my job's been well done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really noble. And I think that's smart, because you're going to have more of an impact on the world with those calls and with those talks and with those things. I'll tell you, you've had over 1 million views of that one video on YouTube from Inside Edition in 6 days. You think about that. But a year from now, don't take this the wrong way, no one's going to remember that. But those people that you talk to individually are going to remember that for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And that's how you change the world. That's how you make an impact that changes the world.
Yep. So it's weird because, my truck commander, when we're overseas, he does intel now and, learns how to essentially, he's not the guy that pushes the button to tell the Predator drone to fire the missile, but he develops okay, well, maybe we need to look at this guy instead of going all the way to the top. And it's those, when you start talking to those key people, they say you're roughly 3 people away from knowing the world. So within roughly 3 connections, you can make a common connection to somebody. And, with that being said, if you can impact that one person, you're 3 people away from now impacting the rest of the community.
So you never sit still. You've gone from the jail, you've been on the SWAT team, you've been a school resource officer, you've been on the road, and now you're going to investigations. What's driving you? What drives you to do these? And whereas some people stay on the road for 25 years and be happy. What's driving you to do these different things?
Curiosity. And it's, not bashing people that stay directly focused on one thing their entire life. They, some people are happy with going, I like going to the road, I do my shift work, and, I go home. For me, it's like, I've done, the jail, so I know how the jail operates. I know, various tactics that, criminals use inside the jail, which are the exact same they use out in the real world. Going on the SWAT team, hitting the houses. Well, I conducted jail searches. So when we go into a house and we have to now search the house for, illegal substances, whatever it is, they hide this, they don't change how they hide things. It's
genius.
That's really good. I'm going to have to get you to help me hide stuff from my wife here at the house.
It's, but if I tell her how to find it, how they find it, it's how they find it.
That's so cool.
So
very cool.
You have that aspect of it. Working patrol, I'm training, a lot of young kids. I mean, the average age for my recruit right now is like 21, 22. I mean, we have, people in the academy that will be turning 21 in the academy. It's hard to get people to come do this job. So if you can spark that interest, get them trained right so that, I always tell them my goal for, them is for them to retire from this career and, how as healthy as possible and as happy as possible. You know, them retiring is all the things I need, because, you know, this is a dangerous job. And working at the schools, you impact the, you know, youth of America is the big thing. A lot of kids nowadays, you know, the big push is, oh, you got to go to college, got to go to college. And I'm like, hey, I didn't go to college. I'm now in my master's program. I'm halfway through. But college at 18 was not for me. I was, you know, too stubborn, focused on other things.
I remember you needed somebody to go beat the crap out of you for a couple of years.
Yeah, so I went to
get that
Iraq
out of your system.
Yeah, I went to Iraq and they did it for me. So, but, you know, it was a way to impact kids, because a lot of these kids don't have a positive mentor in their lives. And that's what you have to do. You have to start modeling them, and telling them, hey, you know, you don't have to hold their hand, but sometimes they need somebody to go, you're messing up. This is where you need to go. And don't worry about college. Worry about doing this, getting a trade, becoming marketable out in the job. We have enough, you know, people that, you know, can take orders at a drive-through, not bashing those people, but there's people out there that already do that job. We need people, you know, that can weld, that can plumb, electricians, things where you can develop a skill, become highly marketable, and then now turn that around and, you know, make a good living out of it. And that's what I was trying. And when I go to investigations, I've already got one attempted murder case under my belt last year. That's going federal, and then we'll see where that goes from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to be like a human bloodhound, man. You're going to be the detective. You're going to know where to look for all the stuff when they hide the evidence.
It's
diversifying your education and skill set is just so smart. I mean, and no matter what you do in life, but, you know, in your world, it's extremely needed. So that's awesome.
You going to run for sheriff?
No, hell no.
Too much politics.
Yeah, too much politics. You know, I'm good. I'm not doing that. Okay. But it's like right now we're, you know, June 21st, I go to investigations. Right now, there's a open process for promotion for sergeant and lieutenant, and everybody keeps asking me, "Oh, you putting in for sergeant? You'd be a shoo-in." I have, you know, enough skills, enough background, but for me, I'm missing one aspect, and that aspect is investigations. That way, if I do become a supervisor, I'm extremely well-rounded. I've touched everything in the department. I know a little bit of everything, a jack of all trades. And when I get plugged into an area, you know, you can now maximize that. You can use that to your advantage, whether it's, you know, a threat at the school or dealing with juvenile crimes to, you know, murder scenes, you know, white collar crime, things of that nature.
Plus, nobody can BS you. It's like, hey, look, whoa, I did that job. Don't try and blow smoke.
Yeah, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
Awesome. Well, we want to be respectful of your time because we know you got to go in and talk to the judge. Any Stu, you got any last questions or anything for John? John, you got any final words for us? Is that CNN again, or is that the White House?
That's a 804 number. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know that number. They'll leave a message.
No, man, keep growing. I don't have any questions for you. I'm so proud of you, and
yeah,
well, I'm honored. I'm honored to know you,
and I'm super proud of you too, son. Good job.
Thank you. I mean, it boils down to you never know what's going to happen until you're put in a position, and if it feels right, then you know that's how you go. And each of those subjects that you know instances that you guys talked about, I never thought about it. You know. Whether it was responding to the individual trying to hang themselves and me putting them on my shoulders and, you know, taking the weight off of it, you never think of those things. It's, you know, you're trying to do right for humanity. And, you know, you just hope that, you know, when they go, again, so you're 3 people away from knowing the world, that hopefully at some point those 3 can then pass on that, you know, goodwill to somebody else. And that's what you're hoping.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh, and John's also being modest too. Forgot to tell you, got nominated for a congressional award as well.
Yep, that's going up right now. So, but that was for the house fire.
Woo.
So
yeah. So
anyway, might have to go up there again.
Yeah. So,
Multiple trips up to Congress.
yeah,
There you go.
it'll be interesting. So,
All right. Well, John, we appreciate you, man. I love you, buddy, and we appreciate you being here on the Jim and Stu show. We have the unique distinction of being the only podcast that he consented to do an interview with.
the only podcast. So,
Hey, we'll take it.
That's pretty good.
yeah.
All right, man.
Alrighty.
Appreciate you, man. Have
Yep,
a great
no
day.
problem. You too.
Okay.
Y'all take it easy.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. All right. Well, that was cool. That was interesting.
That's just pure impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just impressive.
I remember when you were sending, when he wanted to go to the police academy. Well, the first time he actually went through the police academy twice. He had to go through twice because he went once for jailer police academy, and then the second time he had to go again to be on the road. And he had gotten a little out of shape from being in the corporate world and, and all that good stuff. And I remember when you were helping him to get in shape, and I was too. And I just remember the dedication that he had to literally transform his body with his injury and everything. Because he didn't mention he got the Purple Heart in Iraq, almost lost his leg. He's got foot drop. He can't. He's
got some foot issues.
He's got some leg issues, and yet he still dragged himself through it and lost a bunch of weight and got in shape to be able to make it through the police academy. So that's one incredible young man.
Absolutely.
He's a good dude. He's
You
a
know
good
what?
dude.
One thing that I see every day when I train these young people that are preparing to serve is they give me hope for the future. And John gives me hope for today. You know what I mean? And that's a really powerful message, that he's just pure hope.
Yep. And, and it's funny because my youngest grandson, we call him the miracle baby because John survived in Iraq and came back and knocked up my daughter again. But little Eli turned 11 yesterday.
Nice. I bet those little boys are proud.
Yeah, they are. And they're growing like weeds. Anyway. Well, hey, that was pretty good. That was, I don't know how we're going to top that. So maybe we won't. We'll just do
segue into that's a tough one.
We'll segue into the next one.
We did have two. Well, you know what? Actually, this is a really good segue.
Okay.
And we're going to change tune a little bit. But podcast 119 topic is, are you ready?
Sure.
Everybody ready? Business and marketing inspiration. Top ways to find it. So Jim and Stu discuss where you can find inspiration for creating effective blogs, ads, social media posts that take your marketing to the next level.
Okay.
Then the end of the show is what inspired you this week. I know what inspired you this week, but for business ideas, new products, services, blog posts, sales letters, and more. Find all the ways into your subconscious and conscious if you know how to listen. So that is it's like we're doing an inspirational podcast. I think that's a good way to segue into podcast number 119.
I think it's tremendous. In fact, we're going to switch things up today. Is that Parker?
Yep, Parker's in the background. There he is.
So we're going to have Stu introduce the podcast.
Okay.
You're going to do the whole intro. So
okay.
I'll give you a countdown. Ready?
What?
No, you got to do it. We're starting.
I need some music.
You need music.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I need the transition music.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, this is Stu Smith and Jim Edwards with another Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast, number 119. And today we are talking about business inspiration. Where do you find it? How can you get it? Does it just pop out of the blue, or do you need to look for it? Can you find a reasonable place that is easy to be inspired, or do you have to really dig deep into that subconscious to figure out what is right for you to add to your business inspiration. So, Jim, that's what we're doing. And my dog's in the background. He's all fired up and inspired about today's podcast.
Dude, that was awesome. That was great. That was a great intro. That was really, really good. Well done. Well done. We're switching hats today.
Yeah.
So good job. It's interesting. I learned a long time ago that inspiration doesn't just happen, which is counterintuitive because most people think that inspiration just comes out of the blue. Inspire basically means from within. I think I looked it up one time. It was pretty profound. I forgot what the hell. I can look it up on Google though. What, the definition of inspire and stuff. Carlin says, Stu projecting and emoting. This is great. So, the thing is though, inspiration strikes every once in a while. But I learned a long time ago that inspiration is the result of stimulation. What do I mean? Well, inspiration comes because something else sparks something within you. And so the spark is inside of you, but something has to spark it. So it can be an article, it can be a question, it can be a video, it can be a suggestion from a friend, it can be a comment on social media, it can be a posting inside of your help desk, it could be just a sideways comment from a friend or a family member or even somebody you don't like. It can be an email, it can be, I'm just thinking back, the inspiration for me writing my first book came from my then girlfriend, now wife of 27 years next month, telling me, hey, you're smart, you ought to write a book. And I'm like, yeah, I'm smart, I ought to write a book. And no, literally, that's the everything changed when she said, you're pretty smart, you ought to write a book. And I'm like, yeah, I want to impress this chick, and so let me write a book. I remember Mini Site Creator, the original inspiration for the thought of creating the course came from an article. I can't remember the guy that I read his article. He said, he was the first one I ever saw use the term mini site, a one-page site. And then Terry said, you ought to create a course about these mini sites to teach people that you're teaching how to do these books, how to set up a membership site. How to set up a website. And that took off from crazy. I remember, inspiration for funnel scripts came from, this one is like crazy. This one was, and this was like, almost didn't happen. My buddy, Russell Brunson sent me a copy. Well, Russell didn't. One of his staff, his buddies, Brent, sent me a copy of Russell's book, .com Secrets. And I put it to the side. Everybody sends me their book, dude. I can't read all these books I get. So I just put it over to the side, sat there. And then my buddy, Greg Caesar, said to me, hey, did you read Russell's book? I'm like, yeah, I got it. I am looking at it. He's like, dude, it's a good book. And I was like, oh, okay. Cause Greg said it was good. Okay, let me read it. So I started reading it. I was like, damn, this is good. So I sent Russell a message through Facebook. I just said, hey, dude, I read your book. It's really, really good. I really liked it. And he responded back, and I was like, you know what? I had to talk to him about rebranding my software to help, people who use the service to get their software done. Get their sales copy done. And that was the inspiration for funnel scripts. And it all happened real quick. You don't know where inspiration is going to come from. So you've got to put yourself in a situation where you can get the stimulation that leads to the inspiration. So we have actually institutionalized inspiration here at our company, in our organization. And so one of the things that we do, or that I have learned about myself, is that stimulation from other people flip something in my head. I take their idea, my idea, and I come up with it's 1 + 1 = 3. So we have Nancy's in charge of the Wednesday newsletter. Susan's in charge of the Friday Jim's Desk for the Jim Edwards Method Premium people. And so every week they each have to ask me for what I'm going to be, they ask me for the article, they ask me for the, for the Jim's Desk thing. And previously we had another team member that was with us forever who just grew into her. She grew her business so big she couldn't work with us anymore. Which God bless her, but her job, everybody's job is you send Jim a couple of ideas, just wild and weird. Okay. And so then I get their idea, or, I have all these idea journals and stuff where I write stuff down. And I mean, I've got a whole thing of them. And that's the other thing is when you have the stimulation, you have the inspiration, you've got to write it down.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like a little wisp in the wind, man. It just disappears. You've got to capture it. You won't remember it. Keep a pen, keep a piece of paper by your bedside. Learn how to write in the dark so you can actually go back to sleep. Because have you ever had, I can't go to sleep, I'm gonna lose the idea. I'm going to lose the idea. But if you write it down, you're like, my bad.
You got to write it down.
And so you need to read. I read a lot. Like Admiral McRaven, what was the guy who was in charge of Spec Ops?
Yeah, McRaven.
Have you read his? He started as a speech to the University of Texas, and then he turned it into a little book. Man, that gave me a ton of ideas. Just got me thinking. And a lot of people think that, well, hey, if I get an idea from somebody else's book or somebody else's thing, it's like I'm stealing their idea. No, ideas are not like pennies. All right, here's what I mean. If Stu has a penny and I have a penny and we trade pennies, we each still only have a penny. But if I have an idea and Stu has an idea and we share our ideas, we actually have 4 ideas. We have my idea, we have Stu's idea, we have my idea that I get from Stu's idea, and we have Stu's idea that he gets from my idea. And so ideas and inspiration are one of the few things that are truly, there's no lack. It's infinite, because your interpretation of something, it's like a quote. If I take a quote and then we each go use the quote wizard, you and I will come up, we'll take the same quote and we will come up with a completely different presentation, completely different video, completely different article, completely different blog post about that quote, because we're interpreting it through our own experience and our own filters of the world and life. So the number one most important thing to do if you want to be inspired is to take in a lot of stimulation. Not overload like a kid on Halloween snorting pixie sticks at midnight wanting to watch SpongeBob, but consistently taking in ideas and then turning them over. I like to, over on my whiteboard, I like to just start drawing. I'll just start drawing and thinking, and stuff just comes, just comes. So I don't know if that was the answer to your question, what you're looking for. I kind of we spin Jim's thing on the back and then set him loose, and he talks for a while and then runs out of steam. Stu, what do you think?
Yes, all of that. Yes, agree, 100%. But here's what I found is that one little bite of inspiration can grow into 10 times that. And what I mean by that is like you said, I like this book. It's a pretty good idea. Hey, Russell, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. Maybe I should do some funnel scripts ideas. So it just keeps, the ideas just keep flowing as long as you're kind of addressing that initial interest.
Right.
So you see this interest, get an idea. Sometimes it just hits you like a bat in the head. It's so profound.
I want to share. This is, here we go. Here's Stuart Andrew Alexander, used to live in the Caymans on the gym boat before last. Or maybe it wasn't the gym boat. Anyway, Stuart and I met up in a bar on Cayman, and he was drinking strawberry margarita or strawberry Coronas or whatever. It was really weird. but he's man enough to drink it in front of me. I'm like, hey, this is a good dude. So he gave me the idea for the Jim Edwards Method Premium. He gave me the idea to create a membership site around all of the wizards and doing an all for one a month thing. And so if it wasn't for that idea that he had shared with me, I never would have created the Jim Edwards Method Premium. I would have kept selling wizards individually and been all kind of fractured and stuff.
Huh.
The key, and Carlin and I think a lot alike. He says stimulation, inspiration, then how do you choose which ones to act on? And that was going to be the next thing I was going to say, was that you can't float around in this weightless feel good of just constant stimulation and ideas and inspiration. At some point, you got to act on something. Otherwise, you're just the weird person that, just is the big dreamer that your family is really disappointed in because you never accomplish anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll let you take that one, Stu.
I'd say my biggest source of inspiration is actually email. Email questions that I get, conversations that I have with people, whether it's kids I work out with, that gives me ideas to write about the issue that they're trying to work around and get stuck somewhere. And now they got to push through a plateau, whatever that is. Maybe a technique that I learned to teach better, something like that, because I had to do it, so I'm immersing myself into this world of people trying to grow. And then I have to be creative a little bit to think of new ways to teach it. And sometimes those are some of my best sources. Old friends, just talking about stuff that they're doing. I had a great one the other day. In fact, let me share my screen, because I can show you a list of 10 different things that inspired me.
It's funny. You just said something though that really just resonated with me. One of your greatest sources of inspiration, it comes from doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it consistently. So it's not just having inspiration and then taking action. Inspiration comes from taking action.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool.
What do you see, Jim? Where's my why can't I see this?
I don't know. I tried to click on the thing, add to stream, and then it disappeared. So try again. Click the share thing at the bottom and then share screen.
Okay. What do you see?
I see Smith Fitness.
Okay, good. All right. So this is my article blog. I had a conversation with one of my buddies I've known for 20 years. Navy SEAL, 20 years in service, did another 10 years contracting overseas, has been overseas over 20 times. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's a combat medic. So anyway, he had some issues with TBI, and I call it mild TBI just because I don't want to, some people have TBI and they can't walk, they can't speak, it gets pretty serious. He was still operational, but just so many other issues that were going on.
Right.
And so anyway, his story of getting hyperbaric oxygen therapy and how it turned him around. I even have he was having horrible sleep, high cortisol, weight loss, hypersensitive to light and sound, and couldn't be in crowds, and had migraines and headaches 24/7, all these issues. And then he got into a hyperbaric chamber, and even I read the book on it. As soon as I heard his story, read this book, Oxygen Revolution, on it. and it has some issues with are
you done sharing?
No, hang on.
Oh, okay.
It has some issues with
look at you with your pop-up marketing there on your site. Excuse me. Buy my stuff.
But anyway, it has some issues. When you dig into it, some of the medical world does not see it as a viable treatment process. There's some controversy. So I went down that. I read like 10 studies. And so I learned a lot about this whole thing. Found a really cool nonprofit that's run by a mom of a Navy SEAL that was killed in Iraq. America's Mighty Warriors. They pay for over 200 SEALs and special ops guys that have gotten this treatment, and it's like 10 grand a piece. It's pretty nice because insurance won't pay for it. So anyway, long story short, just that conversation of like how he's doing took me down this rabbit hole of learning so much more about what he's experienced and, how to help other people. Perhaps this might be an answer for them instead of taking a dozen prescription medications, and some of them have can cause suicidal thoughts as part of the backlash of taking them. This article here was one of our podcasts that we did. Remember, we did the realist, the optimist, and the pessimist.
Walk into a bar.
Yeah, walk into a recruiter's office. That was a good one. That went deep. This here was part of my group training. This is us lifting weights, with a homemade squat rack in the winter outside because of COVID. But we came up with a great lifting cycle there. Every day I do mobility day, I realize I can't skip mobility day. It is a must. This one right here, this little meme, I just made up. I got some rules of tactical fitness. Don't ask me what the minimum standards are because I don't know them. Right. And there are no tips or secrets. And you never think about quitting when you think about winning. This little meme here has gone all through the internet, and it came up. I made a full article out of it and podcast out of it. And, all of these things are just kind of growing thoughts that just take a life of their own almost.
Right. As you act and share, you make this. That is another source of inspiration, is the distinctions that you make as you're doing it. So seeing other people doing it, seeing yourself doing it, having thoughts. I mean, sometimes I have thoughts. A lot of times I have these thoughts when I'm running because my thinking and my focus gets so uncluttered when I'm focused on breathing and moving my body and making little tweaks that all of that noise disappears. So again, like my workout book turns into an idea notebook as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many great ideas I've written down on the sheet with all the exercises and stuff.
Nice.
So it's just being in the arena, being in the pool, being in there doing it, seeing what people are doing it yourself. That's really where distinctions come from. And the best inspiration comes from distinctions that you make from actually doing it, being in there. If you weren't working out with those kids 3 days a week, 4 days, 5 days a week, you wouldn't be making the distinctions that you're making. You would all be basing it on just your own personal experience with the working out.
True.
It's the same thing with seeing, okay, like we're getting ready to do a challenge, the 7-day Write Your Book challenge here in about a week and a half. That's going to give me some crazy distinctions when I see where people are having issues, when I think it's just, why is this an issue? But it's not where I think something's an issue. It's where they think there's an issue. So so again, another source of inspiration just comes from making individual distinctions when you're actually doing it. Stuart asked a good question, which I have a good answer for, I think. Says, what if you're the kind of person that can see other people's stuff and easily come up with ideas that make them better? Where do you go with that skill? You become a coach. You coach people. Now, hopefully you also are doing it, because ultimately the most authentic coaches are the people who have two parts of their business. They're doing it, and then they're teaching people what they're doing in their business. What happens in a lot of cases is people figure out how to do something, then they become a coach, they stop doing it, and they lose sight of, they lose the process of making those distinctions, incorporating what has changed in the world, new technology, new techniques, new ideas, new distinctions. And then you end up you're teaching people old stuff. You're not a good coach because you're not doing it anymore. I would have a hard time doing the workouts that Stu sends me. If Stu weighed 300 pounds and could barely walk up his basement steps, he would not be an authentic coach if that's who he was, if that's what he was doing. So you can't just, where they say, those who can do, those who can't teach, and those who really can't teach teachers. That's a saying.
That's a horrible quote, but
it's a wonderful quote because it's true. And if I piss somebody off, good. It's almost 10. But to get you out of the way early. So that's my response. What is your response to Stuart's question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you can see a better way to make a mousetrap, do it. I mean, if you're inspired to actually go into that realm of work, whatever that is, you see a way that you see somebody doing something, you want to make it better. If that is in your business, I think you should have a better mousetrap, right? If not, maybe go into consulting and say, here's how you can make it better. Yeah. But I don't know, be honest with you, but I mean, I've seen several people, you have a really good idea with business. I remember when I saw the first tagged product on Instagram. Somebody was selling something and you could just tap the picture. Next thing you know, it took you right to their store and you could do that. And I was like, how do you do that? That's really good. And I figured it out and I've been doing it ever since and see a huge increase because of that. But yeah, absolutely. You see a great idea that somebody has, you should, especially how quickly technology evolves these days. You can't keep up with it on your own.
Right.
You have to see what people are doing. Like the podcasting thing, we didn't invent the podcast. There are probably about 10,000 podcasts by the time we decided to make a podcast out there. So.
And the one thing I would say is, as you're looking to see what other people are doing, it's easy to fall into, again, that mindset of not a poverty mindset or a mindset of lack, but it's almost like other people's ideas are a threat. It's not always, but sometimes you can fall into that feeling of, looking at what other people are doing or even being open to what other people are doing is a threat. Because it might expose you as what you're doing is wrong or something like that. But just don't worry about that. Just it's good to see what other people are doing. It's not threatening to you in the least.
I look at it like this, especially in my world, fitness is a huge market, right? No one does all of fitness, right? There's a little bit of genre here and there that people specialize in. And there's room for everybody. Even if you have similar products and similar websites and similar social media, there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
absolutely. Cool. Well, I would say that we need to wrap this up, and it's your turn to wrap it up, Stu. You introduce the show, you wrap the show up, and send people off with good vibes.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, please post them because your questions give me ideas for next show. So here at the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast with Jim Edwards and Stu Smith, where do you go, Jim, to find some good sales copy?
Huh? Oh, if you want to learn how to write amazing sales copy, you can go to copywritingsecrets.com. You can pick up, we still have copies left, free copies left of my book. I don't know how much longer it's going to be available, but you go to copywritingsecrets.com. I'll send you a copy of my book. Just pay a small shipping and handling, and you too can write amazing sales copy just like Stu.
Yep.
And Stu, if they want to get in shape between now and Monday when they're going to do the full Murph with a 40-pound weight vest.
I hope you have prepared for that.
I have.
Yes.
But if the people want to get in shape, where can they go?
StuSmithFitness.com.
There you go.
Can't mess that up. But also go check out the Facebook page, a Facebook group It's a closed group, sales copywriting, content marketing hacks group. And there are great many people. What do you got? 20, 25,000?
There's over 20,000 people in there. There's a lot in there now.
And they're very helpful. They're very helpful because I would say 9 times out of 10 are a source of my inspiration for getting new topics for the following week. So
nice.
Get in there, start asking questions, helping others, because that's what this is all about, inspiring others. And this has been 1 hour since we've been doing the Jim and Stu Show / sales copywriting and content marketing hacks podcast. And I say 1 hour is enough.
Okay. Well, that means we have to stop. So everybody have a great day and we'll see you next time.